Have you ever felt so tired you could cry? And yet, the second your head hits the pillow, your brain decides it's time to solve every problem you've ever had? Like suddenly it's 2:47 a.m. and you're replaying conversations from 10 years ago, mentally organizing your to-do list, wondering if you forgot to reply to that text, and also thinking, "Wow, I'm going to be exhausted tomorrow."
Or you fall asleep on the couch at 8 o'clock, wake up feeling groggy, move to your bed, and then you're wide awake for the next 3 hours.
If that sounds familiar, you're not alone, and you're definitely in the right place. Welcome back to Midlife and Glowing. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Nicole, and today we're talking about something that impacts almost every woman in midlife: sleep. Why it suddenly feels so much harder, what's actually going on in your body, and what genuinely helps, especially during perimenopause.
March is Sleep Awareness Month, and honestly, I can't think of a better time to have this conversation. Because if there's one thing women in this season of life keep telling us, it's this: I'm exhausted, but I can't sleep.
And sleep issues can feel incredibly discouraging, not just because you're tired, but because poor sleep affects everything: your mood, your patience, your focus, your confidence, your motivation, even how you feel in your body.
Yeah, it's hard to feel like yourself or show up as your best self when you're running on empty.
And what makes it even more frustrating is that many women feel like they're doing all the right things. You go to bed earlier, you try magnesium, you cut back on caffeine, and still sleep feels elusive.
So today we want to bring awareness, not fear, to what's really happening with sleep in midlife. Because once you understand why your sleep is changing, it becomes a lot easier to support your body instead of trying to force it.
So let's start with the big picture. Sleep disruption in midlife is very real and it's very common, especially during perimenopause. During this transition, your hormones don't decline in a neat, predictable way. They fluctuate, and those fluctuations directly affect sleep.
And this is where it can feel confusing because you might not even think of yourself as being in perimenopause yet. And so many people don't. I was talking to someone that was maybe 37 and she wasn't even considering that she was even close to perimenopause.
Exactly. Many women start experiencing sleep changes years before they expect to. Here are some of the biggest contributors. First, estrogen and progesterone shifts. Progesterone has a calming effect on the brain and nervous system, in part because it supports GABA. GABA is a neurotransmitter that helps calm the brain and plays a big role in deep restorative sleep. So, as progesterone declines in midlife, many women start to feel more wired, anxious, or restless at night.
And that totally explains the "why can't I shut my brain off" feeling.
Exactly. Estrogen also plays a role in temperature regulation, which is why night sweats or feeling overheated can wake you up, even if you don't fully register it as a hot flash. Second, cortisol dysregulation. Cortisol is your stress hormone, and in midlife, many women experience elevated evening cortisol. So even though your body is tired, your nervous system is still on high alert. And high cortisol is part of that fight or flight response. It inhibits melatonin production, which is your sleep hormone. So, high cortisol at night can really disrupt sleep in a number of ways.
That tired but wired feeling is so real. And you've mentioned before that our stress response is more reactive in this part of our life too, right? So that makes sense that cortisol would be more of a problem.
Exactly. Now, third, blood sugar instability. And this is a really, really common issue. If your blood sugar drops overnight, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline to bring it back up, which can wake you up suddenly, often between 2 and 4 a.m. And you're laying there wide awake because you have adrenaline coursing through your body.
Which is exactly when so many women say they wake up, which I can totally relate to. What would cause this to happen?
Well, a couple of things are possible. Essentially, anything that's going to lead to high blood sugar, which will have a resulting crash that will wake you up with this scenario. So, think having a high carb meal at dinner or even moderate carbohydrates, but not getting enough protein to keep blood sugar stable. And that is a very common scenario. Most women aren't getting enough protein to keep blood sugar stable. Another possibility is maybe you've had a balanced dinner, but you're snacking on sugary or high carb foods in the evening. And one last possibility is if you skip dinner and you haven't provided your body with the fuel that you need for stable blood sugar.
So, really, what you are or aren't eating in the evening really sets the stage for what kind of sleep you may get.
Exactly. And finally, mental and emotional load. Midlife often comes with a lot of responsibility. Careers, parenting, relationships, aging parents, identity shifts. Your brain doesn't just clock out because it's bedtime.
Yeah, I definitely feel that one. You have all the tasks and responsibilities and things that you don't need to think about, but you can't help it, running through your mind when you put your head on that pillow. Sometimes I even find myself getting out of bed to see if I did something.
Right. And that's really why a wind down routine is really helpful. Something like yoga nidra or just the super simple extended exhale breathing technique that we've shared before. Just literally taking time to pause and allow your nervous system to shift into that rest and relax mode.
Yeah, and I think this is the part we don't talk about enough, the emotional side of sleep. When you're not sleeping well, everything feels harder. You're more irritable, you're less patient, you're less resilient.
And you feel less like yourself.
Exactly. And you might notice your confidence takes a hit too. You don't feel as motivated to take care of yourself. Getting dressed feels harder, decisions feel heavier. And when I'm so tired that I don't even have the energy to put myself together, even though I know that helps me feel better, it can turn into a vicious cycle.
Yeah. And then there's the frustration of thinking, why is this happening to me? I used to sleep just fine.
And that comparison to your former self can really be discouraging.
Which is why awareness matters. Sleep changes in midlife are not a personal failure, they're a signal. Your body is asking for a different kind of support.
Let's talk for a minute about what doesn't work, because a lot of us have tried these things. White knuckling your way through exhaustion, scrolling your phone until you pass out, expecting your body to respond the same way it did 10 or 20 years ago.
Or thinking the solution is just go to bed earlier, even though you're already exhausted.
Right. Or adding more and more things to your nighttime routine until it feels like another job.
Right. Midlife doesn't respond well to force, especially when it comes to sleep. So instead of trying to control sleep, we like to focus on supporting the systems that allow sleep to happen naturally. Let's break this down into a few simple pillars. Pillar one, nervous system regulation. Sleep requires a sense of safety in the body. If your nervous system is stuck in go mode, sleep will always feel out of reach. Gentle downshifting practices like breath work, stretching, stillness, gratitude journaling, yoga nidra, these signal to your body that it's okay to rest.
And this doesn't have to be complicated or time consuming. Even 5 intentional minutes can make a difference.
Absolutely. Pillar two, evening rhythms and blood sugar. Supporting blood sugar in the evening with balanced meals and avoiding long stretches without food can reduce nighttime wake ups. This isn't about restriction, it's about nourishment.
Pillar three, ritual over routine. This is a big one. We're actually big fans of routine. Getting out of it is usually when we don't feel our best. But the key is making those routines feel supportive, not rigid. When you treat them like rituals, they can tell your body it's time to wind down. And it's that consistency, more than perfection, that really adds up over time. This is something we talk a lot about in our Daily Glow Rituals Guide because small intentional daily rituals really do create big shifts over time.
Now, this next piece is a really important distinction. How rested you feel isn't just about how many hours you're sleeping, it has everything to do with the state of your nervous system.
That part right there is huge because a lot of women are thinking, I am sleeping. So why do I still feel exhausted?
Exactly. And here's why. You can be asleep, but if your nervous system is stuck in a stress response, fight or flight, your body never fully powers down, even while you're sleeping. So the sleep you're getting is lighter, less restorative, and not doing the job it used to do.
So it's like your body is technically asleep, but your system is still on high alert.
That's exactly it. And this is very common in midlife because hormonal shifts make the nervous system more sensitive to stress. When your nervous system doesn't feel safe enough to relax, deep restorative sleep becomes harder to access, no matter how early you go to bed. And we've talked about the progesterone GABA factors that contribute to this too. Less progesterone available, less of that calming neurotransmitter.
And I think that explains why trying harder to sleep doesn't always work.
Right. This is where rest comes in. Deep rest practices help calm the nervous system. lower cortisol, and move the body out of fight or flight and into a more relaxed state. When that happens, your body is finally able to get the kind of sleep that actually leaves you feeling refreshed.
And the important part here is that rest doesn't require you to fall asleep.
Exactly. Even if you don't sleep, your nervous system can still rest, and that matters. Over time, giving your body more opportunities to rest helps make sleep feel accessible and more restorative again. So, practices like yoga nidra can be really supportive in midlife. There's no effort involved. You're not trying to sleep, you're allowing your nervous system to downshift.
And even if you don't fall asleep, your body still benefits.
Yes. And that's exactly why we created our Radiant Rest Yoga Nidra sessions as a gentle, supportive option for women who are sleeping but not feeling rested and who need support calming their nervous system first. So, quick little recap if you're struggling with sleep. Here are a few simple things to start with. One, choose one calming evening ritual and stick with it. Consistency over intensity every time. Two, support your nervous system before trying to fix sleep. Three, give yourself grace. Your body is communicating. Try listening to what it needs. Sleep struggles can be a real issue in this stage of life, so we hope this episode helped provide you with a few simple takeaways to feel more rested.
Thank you so much for spending time with us. If this episode resonated, we'd love for you to share it with a friend who might need it too.
And if you haven't already, leaving a review or following the show is one of the best ways to support this podcast and help more women find these conversations.
We'll link everything we mentioned in the show notes. Take good care of yourself, friends.
We'll see you next time on Midlife and Glowing.